What's going on, guys? It's HawkWX, and today I'm going to be doing my 2024 RLCS World Championship predictions. If you enjoyed today's video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks, guys. Now let's get into the video. Also, guys, I'm going to go pretty quickly through the predictions today because it's the Sunday before Worlds right now at the time of me recording this video. It's almost 5 o'clock on the Sunday before Worlds right now, actually, so I don't have that much time to edit this video. So I'm going to go pretty quickly. I do have school tomorrow, and I have school Tuesday also, which kind of sucks. I'm not going to be able to watch probably a good amount of the first few days of Worlds because of school. But yeah, I'm not going to have a lot of time to edit this video, so I'm going to go pretty quickly through the predictions. All right, so first of all, we have G2 versus Limitless. And also, guys, I'm not going to explain things in depth here, especially when it's matchups like this. I think we all know what's going to happen here. Limitless is going to win. All right, there we go. Now we have Gentlemates versus Pioneers. This is going to be a 3-0 as well, I think. Gentlemates actually didn't look that phenomenal at the Esports World Cup, and I am going to put some weight on the Esports World Cup since it is a recent LAN and it was an international LAN as well. I think it is worth noting the results of that LAN. 3-0 for Gladiators won't take a game, I don't think, from Falcons. I know I said I'm going to go pretty quickly through these predictions, guys, but there are some matchups that I might stop to talk about for just a second longer than some of the other ones, and Furia versus OG is one of those. I think that Furia versus OG could actually be a way closer series than people think. It depends on if we get online OG or if we get on LAN OG. On LAN OG, pretty stinky. Online OG, pretty solid. But anyway, I'm going to give this to Furia regardless. I'm going to give it a 3-2 though. I think it's going to be closer than people expect. And I think OG might do a little bit better than people think at this LAN. Hopefully better than 1-3 because I do like the OG guys. And then BDS versus Oxygen. BDS just won the Esports World Cup. This is going to be, I'll give it a 3-1. I think Oxygen's really good. I am going to assume though, Oxygen's hours probably aren't honestly as high as the rest of the teams because they literally just got invited to Worlds like a week ago because the MENA 2 seed couldn't make it. So, and they couldn't find anybody from MENA to make it. So Oxygen got invited. And I just think that BDS is honestly just the superior team to Oxygen in general. I'd have BDS winning anyway, but I'll just have that as a 3-1. And that could be closer than I think. And actually Oxygen, if they peak and their hours have been high, maybe they will beat BDS. The chance is there. But I see BDS taking that series pretty comfortably. Vitality versus Secret, did not mean to type a 2 there. That is going to be a 3. I'll give that a 3-1. I'm not very high on Vitality, guys. They got swept by Gen G at the Esports World Cup in the quarterfinal. I might actually have Gen G doing pretty well here. We'll just have to see. I literally have no idea how this bracket's going to turn out. I don't have in my mind, current world champion for sure. It's just going to depend on matchups. Anyway, Gen G, I just said I'm pretty high on them now after their Esports World Cup prediction. Performance, I'm going to give this a 3-1. I know a lot of you guys are probably pretty high on Power. A lot of people think that Power actually has it in them to make top 8. I just think there's one too many good teams for Power to make top 8 here, but Power is definitely good. They're dangerous. They beat Oxygen at London, but I see Gen G winning, that series 3-1. Space Station versus Carmine. This one is going to be really, really interesting. This is a series that I do not want to miss. I'm going to be in school during like all these matchups probably pretty much, but Space Station versus Carmine is going to be a good one that I'm not going to want to miss, and you guys aren't going to want to miss it either. I'm going to say, I just really hope it lives up to the hype. But anyway, I'm honestly going to go with Carmine here. The Carmine versus Space Station series could go either way, guys, but I think that I think people are kind of forgetting how good they are. But anyway, Space Station definitely has it in them to beat Carmine though. There's no doubt about that. So it's going to be interesting to see how all these teams do. G2 versus Carmine. Actually, I'll do the lower bracket matches first. So Secret, Oxygen. I'll honestly give Secret 2 games here. I didn't really think Oxygen looked impressive at all at London. And I know that they had a lot of pressure on them, but like, everybody, to be fair, in my opinion, has pressure on them, regardless of if you think they don't. I don't know. I think if you're that good, if you're that team that can like win Worlds, you're probably still going to do good regardless at the London Major. But anyway, now we're going to do Power versus Gladiators. This could be closer than people think. This is actually a dangerous series for Power, and I'm not joking. I really think it is. I think Gladiators is a little bit better than people think. I actually think Gladiators is better than Pioneers. I really do think that. I'm going to give that a 3-2. Maybe that's a 3-1. I'm actually going to make this a 3-1. I really don't know. That could be closer than people expect, though. OG versus Pioneers. I'm going to give this, honestly, a 3. I'm going to give that a 3-0. I think OG is going to do pretty good against Pioneers. I think that won't be too difficult for them. And then Space Station versus Limitless. This is a 3-0 also. Limitless might be able to take a game there, but I just don't really see it. All right, now we have G2 versus Carmine, and this could be a really, really good series. This could easily go to 5. I actually probably will have it going to 5. This is going to be one of those where G2 either comes out in like 3-0s or it's like 3-2 and Carmine wins or G2 wins, like either way, coin flip type thing. But I think if one team dominates the other, it would probably be G2. Let's just give this a 3-2. Let's just make that go to 5. I could honestly see G2 versus Carmine being like 3-1 just because I do think G2 is really, really good. And we haven't seen Carmine play against international competition in a really long time. But I do think Carmine is still really good. And they've been scrimming, obviously, against international competition while they've been preparing for Worlds in North America currently. From the time of me recording this video, I'm assuming most of the teams have probably been in North America preparing for Worlds for a week or two. All right, guys, now we have Gentlemates versus Furia, and I was talking about how I was going to put a little bit of weight on the results of the Esports World Cup, and Gentlemates heavily underperformed at the Esports World Cup, and I really don't know what we could see here, and Furia honestly didn't look that good at the Esports World Cup either. If I'm going by what we've seen in actual RLCS lands, it's Gentlemates by a mile, honestly. But I'm still gonna give it to Gentlemates, I think. We're gonna call it 3-1. Actually, maybe I'll call it 3-2. I'll just have that going to 5 because I wasn't impressed by Gentlemates. I do think if we get the Gentlemates, the typical Gentlemates on land form, that'll probably be a 3-1 or a 3-0. But if we get the Esports World Cup Gentlemates, they're gonna lose that series. And if we get just kind of less confident Gentlemates and less confident Furia because of their Esports World Cup results, it'll probably just go to 5 with Gentlemates winning, because I do think Gentlemates are generally just the better team. All right, now we have Falcons versus Gen G, and I hate to do this, but Gen G just, I don't know what it is, but they just can't do it against Falcons, it seems like. So I'm gonna make this probably a 3-1. I'll give Gen G a game, but Falcons they've just dominated Gen G every time they've played them. I do think Gen G could figure it out, and Gen G might be able to like make that a 5-game series, or maybe even win that series, but they have a lot that they have to figure out to beat Falcons. All right, now we have BDS versus Vitality. I'm gonna make this a 3-1 because I really liked what I saw from BDS at the Esports World Cup. If BDS manages to play at that same level at Worlds as they did at the Esports World Cup, they could be maybe the favorite to win Worlds. Obviously, G2 and Falcons are gonna be really, really hard to beat. That's my opinion at least. And I think Gentlemates, you would assume, will be playing at a really high level all through Worlds. But BDS, if they can manage to play at that same level at Worlds as they did it at the Esports World Cup, they're gonna be really dangerous. And definitely one of the 4 favorite teams. I think they are one of the 4 favorite teams. I honestly think, well, there they are. There's the favorites. They're in the 2-0 round at the top. Those are probably my 4 favorites personally, who I would think one of those 4 teams, if I had to pick, would probably win Worlds or be my favorites to win Worlds. All right, so I'm gonna move down to lower round 3, and we have Secret versus Limitless. I'm gonna make this just be 3-1. I'll let Limitless have their, I think, first game win of any LAN against Secret. We'll just let them get one. Why not? But that could easily be a 3-0. I'd actually probably expect a 3-0. But anyway, Gladiators, I was talking about it just a second ago, how I think they are better than Pioneers, and I'm going to bring that to life here. I'm going to have Gladiators beat Pioneers 3-2. Now, going to the 1-1 round, let's start out at the bottom. Oh my god, okay. Yeah, we'll start out at the bottom, I guess. Dude, there are so many good teams at this LAN. It's crazy. The matchups are all honestly really, really good. I'm really looking forward to watching this LAN. Anyway, Carmine, we're going to give them the win here. I just don't know, like, I don't even know if there's a world, like, even if OG was peaking, where they can beat Carmine. Unless we get the Carmine versus Suh form. I think Suh is the team that they just somehow always just would randomly lose to, it seemed like, and yeah, I just don't think we're going to see that at Worlds. I think that the Carmine guys are going to be too prepared for this LAN for that to happen. Oh, why did I make that 3-2? I'm going to, not 3-21, that's not possible. There we go, 3-1. I'll let OG have a game there. OG does have a chance in that series to pull the upset. I just think it's incredibly unlikely. Now we're gonna make Gen G. Gen G honestly owned Space Station most of the season back in NA, I guess here in NA, since that's where the LAN's being played. Yeah, we're gonna make this a 3-1. I'll give Space Station a game. That actually might be a 3-2. LJ on LAN is insane. That could be 3-2. I'm gonna change this. I'm gonna make it 3-2. I could see this going either way, but I do think Gen G will probably, I don't know if they'll comfortably win that series, but I think they'll win it. Now, Vitality versus Power. I mean, I love all the Power love. I love everyone trying to love Power. I love Power personally. I want to see them do well. I would love to see Power make top 8. That would be really, really cool. But yeah, they're just not going to be Vitality. I just don't see that happening. That's going to be a 3-1. I'm not high on Vitality either, guys, but I just don't think Power is going to beat Vitality. I just don't see that happening. And then Furia versus Oxygen. This one is really, really interesting. This is actually an extremely interesting matchup, I think. Do I give Oxygen the upset here, guys? I honestly think it might not be that bad of an idea. It just all depends on their hours, man. I have no idea what Oxygen's hours are looking like. I would think, though, like, guys, if Oxygen was one of the 4 EU teams that just normally made it to the LAN, I think I'd have Oxygen beating Furia, because I do think Oxygen, on paper, in my opinion, is a better overall team than Furia. I think Furia, Yan is better than anybody on Oxygen, I think, but besides maybe Oski, and maybe Joyo too. I don't know, man. I think Oxygen really is just pretty much clearly the better team on paper. That might sound crazy to you guys, I don't know, but Oxygen just, they pooped the bed at the last LAN. I think I gotta give it to Furia, dude. They're probably gonna come in extremely locked in, but I'm gonna make that go to 5, and I see that series going either way. I really do. I think Oxygen and Furia is probably gonna be really close. And why is that number 2 moving? Is that moving on the screen too? It is. Wow, interesting. Now we have G2 Gentlemates. Guys, I think G2 have just improved throughout the season. Gentlemates look shaky at Esports World Cup. I'm going to have this be a 3-2. I know Gentlemates are really, really good in Swiss historically so far this season, but I do think G2 will put it together. And then Falcons BDS. BDS beat them in the grand final, Esports World Cup, but it's still Falcons in Swiss. So Falcons in Swiss, I'm going to give this a 3-1 over BDS. Probably could be a 3-2. Probably could be a 3-2 in BDS's favor. But Falcons, dude, they just are on another level every single LAN until they make a final, including the Esports World Cup. Guys, I think that the 2-1 round and the 1-2 round here is going to be where things get really, really interesting. I think actually every elimination round is going to be in front of the crowd this time, which is really cool. I think that's going to be really, really cool for all the teams to get to experience the crowd. Like, literally every single team at some point will get to see the crowd. But anyway, I think the 2-1 and the 1-2 round here are where things are going to get really, really intense. Because if you're in the 2-1 round, you're like, okay, if I win this series, I'm in the top 8. And if you lose it, you're like, I'm going to round 5, and my world's hope rely on a good matchup in round 5. And then if you're in the 1-2 and you lose, you're just done. So I think this is where things get really, really interesting. But also, if you're in the 1-2 round and you win, you go to round 5 and you have a chance to make top 8 still. I know I'm literally just explaining what the 2-1 and 1-2 round are, but yeah. This one, okay, let's do lower again. Let's do lower again. Oh my god, okay, this is interesting. This is really interesting because Power beat Oxygen in London, but it's not going to happen again. Will it happen? No, I just really don't think so. But I'll have it go to 5. I'll have it be, it'll be one of those nail biter type series, but Oxygen takes it in 5. Now we have OG Secret. OG, guys, I was actually talking about this when I did the World's Power Rankings video a couple months back now, probably. I said that I think OG is the better team overall compared to Secret when they're playing the way they should, even though Secret beat them in London. I still stand on that. I'm going to make this a 3-2. I'll have that going to 5 also. These are going to be really intense. They're going to be in front of a crowd. And that's another thing, guys. When you take the crowd into consideration, I think that Calm, JNaps, and Noli will perform better than Secret will. Just because Secret hasn't been in front of a crowd yet this season. OG hasn't either, but JNaps, Noli, and Calm are just super, super experienced, like all throughout RLCS, especially JNaps. This is like his 7th World Championship, I believe. And he's been in the grand final. Noli's won a LAN. Calm won Gamers 8 last year. I know that he had Daniel and Beast Mode on his team, but still. In front of a crowd, I just think OG, if it comes down to OG versus Secret in front of a crowd, I'm gonna give the edge to OG. But anyway, now let's make Space Station versus Gladiators. Let's make that a 3. We'll give Gladiators a game. I think they are pretty underrated, but they're not going to win that series. Okay, now Vitality versus Carmine. This is one that is interesting. Very interesting indeed. But I think I'm going to have Carmine taking this in 5. I think Carmine's going to come out and remind people that they are a good team still. All right, now we have BDS versus Fury. I'm going to make this one pretty quick. I think this will probably be like a 3-1 or 3-2, but I'm going to make it a 3-1 because I think Furia's weakness is playing against really fundamentally sound teams and teams that make you play. I guess I don't even really know how to explain this, but it just seems like BDS makes teams play the way that they want them to play, and they force you to make mistakes, kind of almost like Gentlemates, but like different. I don't even really know. Basically, guys, I just overall think that BDS is going to give Furia a lot of problems. There's just something about the way BDS plays. I'm not an RLCS analyst, so I can't really describe it, but just when I watch BDS play, I think that they are going to match up really well against Furia if they play, and they'll probably beat Furia 3-1. Because I don't think BDS is going to let Furia get away with that high-flying offense and all that type of thing. Gentlemates versus Gingy. This is one that's interesting because Gentlemates versus Gingy, when they played in the quarterfinals in Copenhagen, went to 7. I'm going to do it. I'm going to have Gingy beat Gentlemates here. I really am. I'm going to make it 3-2. I'm going to make it go to 5. This is going to be like the surprising upset of the Swiss stage. I don't even know if that is the surprising upset of the Swiss stage. There might have been other ones that I missed, but anyway. Okay, now we're in round 5. Some pretty interesting matchups here. Very interesting matchups, actually. Gentlemates in round 5 just doesn't look right, but yeah, it doesn't matter. They're going to make the top 8 anyway here. Oxygen isn't going to beat Gentlemates. I'm even going to have that be a 3-1. And then Vitality versus OG. Dude, I'm just not very high up on Vitality right now, but I also just... OG went 1-3 at the other 2 LANs. OG hasn't shown me anything special on LAN. They look really good online. Honestly, if OG can find that online form on LAN against Vitality, they might be able to take them down. But I still think Vitality is the better overall team. I'm going to even make this a 3-1. Who knows what could happen in these round 5 matchups if they were to happen. But guys, also, this is another one that is a little bit interesting because Space Station did beat Furia in Swiss the last time, and they did it pretty convincingly. They looked pretty solid against Furia. They matched up with them really well. I was kind of surprised. I'm going to do it. This is going to be another one of those really big upsets. I don't even know if this is a really big upset, honestly, but I'm going to make it 3-2. I think Space Station and Furia are pretty much in the same category almost on LAN. I know that might sound kind of crazy, but in terms of, I think they're both like somewhere around the number 8 best team behind like all 4 EU teams pretty much, and Gingy and G2. But yeah, guys, basically because I saw Space Station beat Furia in London, in Swiss, I'm going to have it happen again. That's going to be a really... If that happened, dude, that's going either way. That literally will go either way, and I guarantee it would go to 5 games, probably. Okay, what is this? Okay, well, I guess we can see my top 8 here really quick. Falcons at the, okay, well, actually, I'm just gonna go to the playoffs. Okay, here is the bracket. Okay, this is interesting. I forgot about this, guys. I'm not gonna sit here and try to explain this bracket here because I honestly don't fully understand how it works. I do actually quite a bit just from looking at it and from what I've seen so far of other people talk about it. But just to save time here, I am going to just go through this. So we're gonna have BDS win this. This is a best of 5. Actually, am I gonna have BDS win that? I mean, it doesn't matter either way. Neither of these teams like get kicked out of the tournament if they lose here, so it doesn't really matter that much. I'm just gonna make it a 3-2. I don't know how I feel about BDS versus Carmine there, but I am just gonna give BDS the slight edge there, I think, because of how good BDS looked in the Esports World Cup. But if Carmine wins that series, if Carmine wins this whole, honestly, my dark horse for this whole tournament to win would be Carmine. Either Carmine or Jinji, and they're actually playing each other right here. I think Carmine and Jinji have the best shot outside of like the 4 sort of universal favorites. Carmine versus Jinji. What do we want to do here? What do we want to do here? I guess this is another one that doesn't really matter. Neither of these teams get eliminated right here, right? Yeah, they don't. I'm going to give this to Carmine. I do think Carmine would probably win that because Jinji just usually starts slow, and if that's only 5 games, you don't want to start slow. Oh boy. Oh boy, Jinji got a really, really, really good matchup. Gentlemates versus Space Station. That could go to 7. That honestly could go to 7. I could see Space Station Gentlemates going to 7, but I'm going to have Gentlemates winning regardless. I'll make that be a 4... We'll have that be a 4-2. Jinji versus Vitality. We saw it at Esports World Cup. It was a sweep in Jinji's favor. I'm going to make this a 4-2 also. I don't think Vitality is going to go out easily. That could even, I might even make that go to 7. I will make that go to 7. So Vitality and Space Station are out. The first 2 out. I don't think that's that crazy to think though either. But now we have Falcons versus Carmine, and this would actually be a really, really fun matchup to see. Really, really fun. And nobody up here gets eliminated either, by the way. They drop down here to Jinji or Gentlemates. I'm going to give it to Falcons. I just really think Falcons are, when they're not in the grand final or a grand final in general, they just look like the best team in the world. So this could go to 7. I'm just going to have it go to 6 though. I don't know why. I think Falcons is a lot to handle. Now we have G2 versus BDS. Let's make this G2 with NAS. Actually, I forgot. G2 with NAS did sweep BDS in Swiss at the Esports World Cup. You'd think with Beast Mode they'd do better just because, you know, Beast Mode is their third teammate, or is their teammate that they usually play with the whole season. And won 4 regionals with, 1 a major with. You would think they'd do better. It all depends on Beast Mode's hours though too. That's another big thing. If Beast Mode hasn't been playing the game a lot, this series could be interesting. Very interesting. It could actually be bad for G2, but assuming Beast Mode has been playing the game, and actually, I believe Beast Mode has been playing the game, or at least I've seen him in 2's lobbies when I've been watching pro streamers play. So I'm just basing off that. I really don't know. I have no idea how much hours he has past 2, but I'm just going to make this be a 4-2. I'll have that go to 6 also. Ooh, this is interesting. This is really, really interesting here. Okay, lower quarterfinal. Carmine versus Jinji. This is kind of like the, what are we going to get from these teams matchup? These teams both are teams that if they play at their peak, they can win worlds. Like, they really can. But they're also teams that, like, I mean, Carmine completely missed a major, and Jinji sometimes has plays just not great and get dominated by teams sometimes, especially if they're playing Falcons. But anyway, I think I'm going to make this a First Killer, Appjack, and Chronic Masterclass, and I'm going to have it be a 4-3. That's going to go to 7. I just think Jinji looked pretty dang good at the Esports World Cup. I just haven't seen enough from Carmine. If Carmine guys ended up winning the World Championship, I really wouldn't be that surprised. But I just really think Jinji is a very dangerous team right now. I think they gained a lot of confidence from beating Vitality in the Esports World Cup and getting a top 4 at that LAN. BDS versus Gentlemates. This one is interesting, man. This is really, really interesting. It just depends on what Gentlemates we're going to see and what BDS we're going to see, because Gentlemates 4-0'd BDS at the last LAN. But BDS also just won the Esports World Cup. I mean, guys, I really don't want to do this because I do think Gentlemates, you would assume, will be fine and bounce back at this tournament based on how they've been at every LAN this season so far except the Esports World Cup. But there's this guy named Monkey Moon. Every time he's at the World Championship, he finds a way to make the grand final. So guess what? I don't know that he's going to make the grand final, but he's not going to go out to Gentlemates in the quarterfinals. Maybe he will. I don't know. But I'm going to have this go to 7. I'll have it be a 4-3. BDS goes to the semis. Okay, dude, this semifinal round is actually very interesting. I did not think I'd have 2 NA teams in the top 4. I really did not. But that's what I mean, guys. It's just the story matchups. This I would have thought would have been Gentlemates here against G2, and then that would have been like my kind of top 4. But Jinji, man, it's all about matchups. All right, since this matchup up here, G2 Jinji, is just a classic North American matchup, I'm just gonna I'll do it first. And this could genuinely go either way. I do think G2 is like clearly, obviously, they've won a LAN. They're the better team overall. But Genji did match up really well against G2 quite a bit. They actually beat G2 twice in grand finals, I believe. But yeah, I'm still going to give this to G2. I just don't think we're going to keep them out of the grand final here. I'll have this go to 7, though. I bet that'll be a really close series. If that was to happen, I would almost bet that would go to 7. Falcons versus BDS. This is a rematch of the Esports World Cup grand final. You know what? Falcons, guys, they are, in my opinion, the better overall team than BDS. Falcons should probably win Worlds. But like I was talking about, Monkey Moon. He's on Team BDS. He wants another grand final. He beat Falcons in the grand final of the Esports World Cup. He's making the World Championship grand final in 7 against Team Falcons. And we get the classic World Championship matchup, G2 versus BDS. Actually, guys, the first World Championship matchup that I ever saw in a grand final, not first matchup, I watched the whole World Championship that year, but the first grand final I ever saw in a World Championship was actually G2 versus BDS. I think that was like 3 years ago now, probably, maybe 4, I don't know. And it did not go G2's way. BDS won that, but the teams look a lot differently now. A lot more different. BDS has improved, G2 has improved, but G2, they beat BDS at Esports World Cup. They beat BDS in Copenhagen when they played. I don't know if they played in London, but in Copenhagen they won in the, was it the quarterfinal, I think? And then they played Vitality in the semis, or either other way around, maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna give it to G2. I'm gonna make this go to, I'm even gonna give it to G2 in 6. I'm gonna let this go to 6, and G2 is gonna win the World Championship. And T-Bates pops up when you pick G2 for the World Champion. Very, very cool. Very cool. If G2 wins the World Championship, you are going to be hearing from T-Bates. There's no doubt about that. So it's actually extremely fitting to have him there. He is the face of G2. That may be debatable. Also, guys, if you want to fill out one of these sheets yourself, it's Cody VRL on Twitter. If you go to his account, just search up his account on Twitter, click on his account. First of all, you should follow him because this is a really, really well done spreadsheet. And second of all, you can just literally go to his account, go on his page, and you can find the spreadsheets there and fill out one of these for yourself if you'd like to. And you can compare your predictions to mine, to other people's. You can just fill them out for fun. You can fill out 50 of them for fun and say you got your predictions right, even though you won't because it's literally impossible. But I actually wonder how many brackets you'd have to fill out to get one completely right. I bet there's a math formula for that, and I'm not going to sit here and do it. But anyway, guys, I'll just zoom back to my whole top 8 here so you can kind of look at it. And yes, I have G2 winning the World Championship, and I have G2, Genji, Falcons, BDS as my top 4. Wouldn't be surprised if Genji there ends up being Gentlemates, and that's the top 4. But yeah, I'm just excited for Worlds, man. It really, really sucks that I have school this week during the World Championship, but I'm going to try to watch as much of it as I possibly can. It's going to be a fun week. It is going to be a very fun week. Also, guys, feel free to let me know down in the comments who you see making the top 8 at Worlds and how you see everybody doing, who you have in the top 4, top 2, winning it all. Feel free to let me know. I'd love to see how we compare our predictions here. I think it'd be so hype if we had a G2 versus BDS rematch in the grand finals. I would actually love that. Anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for today's video. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.